I was sitting alone in my apartment at 2:07 in the morning, my phone screen the only light in the darkness, when I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. The message was simple, just 3 words. Package delivered, confirm. I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds before typing back, wrong number. Then I set my phone down and went back to scrolling. But 10 minutes later, I heard them. The low rumble of engines. Multiple engines. I got up and walked to my window, pulled back the curtain just an inch, and felt my stomach drop. 5 black SUVs, all parked in a perfect line, blocking both ends of my street, all with their headlights still on, all just sitting there, waiting. And I had no idea why. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm 31 years old. I'm a data analyst for a mid-sized insurance company. I live alone in a 3rd-floor apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. I have never broken a law in my life. I've never even gotten a speeding ticket. I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. I don't have enemies. I'm so boring that my own mother calls me on weekends to check if I'm still alive, because apparently sitting home reading books is suspicious behavior. So when I saw those SUVs, my first thought wasn't, what did I do? It was, this has to be a mistake. But mistakes don't usually come with that many vehicles. I grabbed my phone again and looked at the original text. Package delivered, confirm. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my messages and looked at my response. Wrong number. Simple. Clear. Completely reasonable. So why were there now 5 SUVs blocking my street? I walked back to the window and peeked out again. The vehicles were still there, still running, still just waiting. And that's when I noticed something that made my hands start shaking. Each SUV had at least 2 people inside, and not one of them was looking at their phone or talking to each other. They were all just staring forward, like they were waiting for something. For the next hour, I sat in the corner of my living room with all my lights off, my phone clutched in my hand, trying to convince myself this was nothing. Maybe it was a police stakeout for someone else in the building. Maybe it was some kind of federal thing that had nothing to do with me. Maybe those vehicles would be gone by morning and I'd laugh about how paranoid I'd been. But at 3:15 in the morning, my phone buzzed again. Same number, different message. Why did you lie? My blood went cold. I stared at those 4 words until my eyes hurt. Why did you lie? What did that even mean? I hadn't lied. I'd gotten a text meant for someone else and I'd said so. That's not lying. That's being helpful. That's what normal people do when they get wrong number texts. But apparently someone didn't see it that way. And that someone had enough resources to put 5 SUVs on my street in the middle of the night. I did what any rational person would do in that situation. I typed back, I didn't lie. You have the wrong person. Then I hit send and immediately regretted it. Because what if responding again made things worse? What if staying silent was the better move? What if every message I sent was digging me deeper into whatever hole I'd accidentally fallen into? But it was too late. The message was sent. All I could do was wait. 3 minutes passed, then 5, then 10. At 3:28 in the morning, with my entire body tense and my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, another message came through. The package was delivered to your location. Security footage confirms you signed for it. I read that message 4 times before my brain fully processed what it was saying. They thought I'd received something. They had footage. They thought I'd signed for it. But I hadn't received any package. I hadn't signed for anything. The last thing I'd gotten delivered was a book from Amazon 3 days ago, and that was just a regular paperback romance novel that cost $12. Nothing about this made sense. I typed back with shaking fingers. I haven't received any package. I haven't signed for anything. You have the wrong person or the wrong address. I don't know what you're talking about. This time the response came back almost instantly. Then who did? And that's when I realized something that made my entire body go numb. If someone had received a package at my address, If someone had signed for it using my location, if there really was security footage, then either someone had used my identity without my knowledge, or something had been delivered here that I never saw, or I was being set up for something I didn't understand. None of those options were good. I got it from the corner and walked to my door, checked the lock, checked it again. Then I went to my bedroom and grabbed the aluminum baseball bat I kept under my bed. It was the only thing resembling a weapon I owned. My dad insisted I keep it when I moved into this apartment 3 years ago. I'd always thought it was overkill. Right now, I was grateful. At 3:45 in the morning, I made a decision. I was going to call the police. This had gone from weird to genuinely frightening, and I needed help. But just as I picked up my phone to dial, another message came through. And this one made me freeze completely. Don't call anyone. If you involve authorities, everyone in your building becomes involved. Think carefully. How did they know? How did they know I was about to call the police? Were they watching me? Was there a camera in my apartment? I spun around looking at every corner, every smoke detector, every air vent. I ran to my bedroom and grabbed a jacket, threw it over my shoulders. Then I went back to the living room and sat on the floor with my back against the wall where I could see both my door and my window. I was shaking so badly, I could barely hold my phone. And that's when I started thinking about what they'd said. Everyone in your building becomes involved. What did that mean? Was that a threat? Were they saying they'd hurt my neighbors? There were families in this building. There was an elderly couple on the second floor who'd lived here for 30 years. There was a single mom with a toddler right below me. Was someone seriously suggesting those people would be in danger if I made one phone call? I sat there for 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to calm myself enough to think clearly. And then something occurred to me. Something so simple, I felt stupid for not thinking of it sooner. I pulled up my building security camera system on my phone. We had cameras at both entrances, in the lobby, and in the parking garage. If someone had delivered a package here, if someone had signed for something, there would be footage. I could check. I logged into the system and scrolled back the last 24 hours. Nothing unusual. I scrolled back further, 48 hours, 72 hours, still nothing. No deliveries, no strangers in the lobby, no packages being signed for. Just residents coming and going like always. So either the footage had been tampered with, or whoever sent that text was lying, or they had the wrong building entirely. At 4:03 in the morning, I sent another message. I checked the security footage from my building. No package was delivered here. No one signed for anything. You have the wrong location or the wrong address. I don't know what you're talking about. This time the response came back almost instantly. Check again. So I did. I went back through every hour of the last week. Lobby camera, front entrance, back entrance, parking garage. And that's when I saw it. 4 days ago, 2:17 in the afternoon. A man in a brown uniform that looked like he could be from any delivery company, carrying a medium-sized box, walking into my building's lobby. But here's the thing. He didn't ring any buzzers. He didn't check a list. He walked straight to the mailroom door, the one that's supposed to be locked and only accessible to residents with a key, and he opened it like he'd done it 1,000 times before. He went inside. The camera angle didn't cover the interior of the mailroom. 30 seconds later, he came back out. No box. He walked out of the building like nothing had happened. I sat staring at that footage for a full minute. Then I took a screenshot and sent it back. This? Yes. That's not me. I never received anything. I don't even know what was in that box. Then go check. It was 4:11 in the morning. The mailroom was in the lobby. To get there, I'd have to leave my apartment, take the stairs down 3 floors, and hope that whoever was in those black SUVs wasn't waiting for me. But at the same time, I needed to know. I needed to understand what was happening. Because sitting in my apartment in the dark while strangers sent me increasingly threatening messages wasn't working. I put on shoes, I grabbed my phone and my keys and my baseball bat, then I opened my apartment door as quietly as possible and stepped into the hallway. Everything was silent. Everyone else in the building was asleep. I walked to the stairwell and pushed open the door, and the sound of it closing behind me echoed like a gunshot. I froze, listened, nothing. So I started down the stairs, moving as quietly as I could, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. When I reached the ground floor, I paused at the stairwell door and looked through the small window into the lobby. Empty. I pushed the door open and walked across to the mailroom. The door was locked. Of course it was locked. It's always locked. I pulled out my resident key and unlocked it, and the mechanism made this loud click that seemed to echo through the entire building. I slipped inside and closed the door behind me. The mailroom was exactly how it always looked. Rows of metal boxes for each apartment, a small counter where packages got sorted, a few shelves, nothing unusual. I walked to my mailbox number 307 and opened it. Empty.
Just some junk mail and a flyer for a pizza place. No package, no mysterious delivery, nothing. I was about to leave when I noticed something. Box 309, the one 2 spaces down from mine, was slightly open, just a crack, like someone had closed it but not quite all the way. I knew the person in 309, David Henderson. Mid-40s, works in tech, travels a lot for business. Quiet guy, friendly enough, but mostly keeps to himself. I'd watered his plants once when he was out of town for 3 weeks. I reached over and pulled his mailbox door open all the way, and there it was. A brown package. Medium-sized. No return address, no shipping label, just a piece of masking tape with 309 written on it in black marker. This was the package from the footage. This was what that man in the brown uniform had delivered 4 days ago. But it wasn't in my box. It was in David's. I stood there staring at it for probably 30 seconds before I made a decision that I knew was stupid but felt necessary. I pulled out my phone, took a picture of the package exactly where it was, and then I reached in and picked it up. It was heavier than I expected. Not heavy enough to be books, but definitely something solid. I shook it slightly. Something shifted inside. Something that felt like it was wrapped in bubble wrap or foam. And that's when my phone buzzed. Did you find it? I looked at the message, then at the package, then back at the message. This isn't mine. It's in someone else's mailbox. Check the contents. I'm not opening someone else's mail. That's a federal crime. The contents are already yours. Check them. My hands were shaking again. Nothing about this made sense. If the contents were mine, why would they be in David's mailbox? If this whole thing was about a package delivery, why were there SUVs on my street? Why was someone tracking my movements? Why did any of this matter? I set the package down on the counter and just stared at it. Then my phone buzzed again. You have 90 seconds. After that, we come in. That wasn't a suggestion, that was a threat, and it meant whoever was sending these messages knew exactly where I was. They were watching, either through cameras or through someone positioned nearby. I grabbed the package again and looked at the tape on top. It had been opened before. Carefully. Then resealed with different tape. Someone had already looked inside this. Someone had already seen whatever was in here, so opening it wasn't really violating anything, was it? I peeled back the tape and opened the flaps. Inside was a layer of foam padding. I pulled it out. Under that was a white envelope and a small black box about the size of a jewelry case. I picked up the envelope first. It wasn't sealed. I opened it and pulled out a single sheet of paper with 3 lines typed in the center. Received, March 14th, 2:17 p.m. Confirmed, March 14th, 2:18 p.m. Authorization, Chen S. I read it 3 times. My name, Sarah Chen. Authorization. But I'd never authorized anything. I'd never received this package on March 14th. March 14th was 4 days ago. I was at work all day. I didn't come home until after 6.
And even if someone had delivered something while I was gone, why would they use my name for a package going into someone else's mailbox? I set the paper down and picked up the black box. It was light. Too light to be jewelry. I opened it. Inside, sitting on white foam padding, was a key. Not a normal house key. Not a car key. It was one of those old-fashioned keys, heavy, made of brass or bronze, with an intricate design on the head and a long shaft with 2 square teeth at the end. The kind of key that opens old doors or antique locks or something you'd see in a museum. I took a picture of it with my phone. Then I took a picture of the paper. Then I put everything back in the box, closed it up, and set it back in David's mailbox. I closed the door, locked it. And then I stood there in the mailroom, breathing hard, trying to process what I'd just seen. My phone buzzed again. Now you understand. But I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything. I had a picture of an old key and a piece of paper with my name on it, but I had no idea what any of it meant. I texted back, "What is this? What am I supposed to do with this?" The key opens something that belongs to you. I don't own anything that uses a key like this. You do. You just don't know it yet. I wanted to scream. This was the most frustratingly cryptic conversation I'd ever had. Every answer just led to more questions. Every explanation made things more confusing. I was standing in my building's mailroom at 4:30 in the morning, holding my phone and a baseball bat with 5 SUVs parked outside, and someone was playing some kind of elaborate game with me that I didn't understand and definitely didn't sign up for. I sent another message. "Who are you?" "Someone trying to help you claim what's yours." "I don't want it. Whatever this is, I don't want any part of it." "Too late. Your name is on the authorization. You're already part of it." I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to people like me. I was boring. I was careful. I followed rules. I paid my taxes on time. I returned my shopping carts. I didn't get involved in mysterious packages and cryptic messages and black SUVs in the middle of the night. But apparently, that didn't matter. Because somehow, my name had been used for something. Someone had authorized something in my name, and now I was stuck in the middle of it whether I liked it or not. I opened my eyes and sent another message. If this belongs to me, why was it delivered to someone else's mailbox? Security measure. If anyone was tracking the delivery, they'd look for your mailbox, not his. But I didn't arrange any of this. Your grandmother did. I froze. My grandmother. My grandmother had been dead for 8 months. She had passed away in her sleep last July at 87 years old, peacefully, surrounded by family. We'd had a beautiful service. I'd helped sort through her things afterward. There was nothing mysterious about her death or her life. She'd been a retired school teacher who loved gardening and baking cookies for her grandchildren. She wasn't the kind of person who arranged secret package deliveries and security measures. I typed back with shaking hands. My grandmother has been dead for 8 months. We know. She arranged this before she died. Instructions were clear. Deliver on March 14th. No sooner, no later. Why March 14th?
That's something only the key can answer. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. This person was giving me nothing but riddles. But they obviously knew things about me. They knew my name. They knew where I lived. They knew about my grandmother. And they had enough resources to coordinate a delivery, arrange security, and park 5 SUVs on my street in the middle of the night. Whoever this was, they weren't messing around. I took a breath and asked the only question that seemed to matter. What does the key open? A safe deposit box, Bank of Pacific Northwest, downtown branch, box number 847.
I knew that bank. It was 10 blocks from my apartment. I'd walked past it 100 times. What's in the box? That's between you and your grandmother. If it's my grandmother's, why wasn't I contacted by the bank? Why wasn't this part of her estate? Because she paid for 30 years in advance under a different name. The bank doesn't know she's dead. As far as they're concerned, the box is still active and the payments are current. This was getting more bizarre by the second. My grandmother had maintained a secret safe deposit box under a fake name for 3 decades? That was insane. That wasn't something my grandmother would do. My grandmother was the most straightforward person I'd ever known. She said what she meant what she said. She didn't have secrets. She didn't need them. But apparently I was wrong. I sent another message. Why are you involved in this? Why are you watching me? Your grandmother hired our firm 28 years ago. We were paid to deliver the key and ensure you received it safely. Our contract ends once you open the box and confirm receipt of the contents. What firm? What kind of firm does this? The kind that gets paid not to ask questions. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh you make when you realize your life has taken a turn into complete absurdity, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you're telling me my sweet cookie-baking grandmother hired some kind of secretive security firm to deliver a mysterious key to me 8 months after her death, and I'm supposed to just go along with this? Yes. And if I don't? Then the box stays locked, the contents stay hidden, and you never know what your grandmother wanted you to have. I stood there in the mailroom, turning the phone over in my hands, thinking about my grandmother. I thought about the last time I'd seen her. It was 3 days before she died. I'd driven down to the nursing home where she'd been staying for the last 6 months. We'd sat in the garden. She'd held my hand. She'd told me she loved me. She'd told me to be brave. At the time, I thought she meant brave about her death, brave about losing her, but now I wondered if she'd meant something else entirely. When do I need to go to the bank? They open at 9. We recommend you go then. Less traffic, fewer witnesses. And the SUVs? We'll leave once you're safely back inside. How do I know you're lying? How do I know any of this is real? You don't. But you know your grandmother. Ask yourself, would she have arranged something like this if it wasn't important? They had a point. My grandmother wasn't dramatic. She wasn't paranoid. If she'd gone to this much trouble, if she'd paid a security firm for nearly 3 decades, if she'd set up a secret safe deposit box and arranged for a key to be delivered months after her death, then whatever was in that box mattered. Really mattered. I sent one last message. Fine, I'll go at 9, but I want those SUVs gone. They'll be gone by sunrise. I waited in the mailroom for another 5 minutes just to make sure no one was going to come bursting through the door. Then I walked back across the lobby, into the stairwell, and up 3 flights to my apartment. I locked my door, checked it twice, put my baseball bat back under the bed, and then I sat on my couch and stared at my phone until the sky started turning pink outside my window. At 5:47 in the morning, I went back to the window and looked outside. The SUVs were gone. All of them. The street looked completely normal, like nothing had ever happened, like I'd imagined the whole thing. But the messages were still on my phone. The screenshots were still saved. And somewhere, in a bank 10 blocks away, there was a safe deposit box with my name on it waiting to be opened. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I took a shower, I made coffee, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the pictures I'd taken of the key and the authorization paper, over and over, trying to make sense of what was happening. At 8:45, I put on jeans and a sweater, grabbed my purse, and left my apartment. The walk to the bank took 12 minutes. The whole time I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see black SUVs following me. But there was nothing, just normal morning traffic. Just people on their way to work. Just another Tuesday in Seattle. The Bank of Pacific Northwest was a big stone building with marble floors and that particular smell that all old banks have, like money and paper and something vaguely musty. I walked up to the front desk and told the woman there that I needed to access a safe deposit box. She smiled politely and asked for my name and box number. Sarah Chen, box 847. She typed something into her computer, frowned slightly, typed something else, then she looked up at me. I'm sorry, but this box is registered under the name Elizabeth Morrison. Do you have authorization to access it? Elizabeth Morrison. I'd never heard that name in my life. I have the key, and I was told the box belongs to me. Do you have any documentation, a letter of authorization, a will? I shook my head. I have the key. That's all I was given. The woman looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but without proper documentation, I can't allow you to access a box that's not in your name. I felt panic rising in my chest. I'd come all this way. I dealt with cryptic messages and mysterious vehicles in a sleepless night, and now some bank policy was going to stop me from finding out what my grandmother wanted me to know? Please, this is important. My grandmother arranged this. She wanted me to have whatever's in that box. Your grandmother's name is Elizabeth Morrison? No, but she used that name for the box, for privacy reasons. The woman's expression shifted from polite to suspicious. I'm going to need you to wait here while I speak with a manager. She stood up and walked towards the back offices. I stood there at the counter, feeling like everyone in the bank was watching me, like I was some kind of criminal trying to steal someone else's property.
My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. Another message. Tell them you have identification that matches the secondary authorization. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't have any secondary authorization. I didn't have identification that matched anything except my own name. But before I could type back a response, the woman returned with a man in a suit. He was maybe 50, gray hair, serious expression. He introduced himself as branch manager Richard Cole. Miss Chen, I understand you're trying to access box 847? Yes, I have the key. And you believe the contents belong to you? My grandmother arranged for me to receive them. Your grandmother being Helen Chen. She passed away 8 months ago. He nodded slowly. And she used the name Elizabeth Morrison for the box? Apparently. I didn't know about any of this until last night. He studied me for a moment. Then he said, Do you have any identification beyond your driver's license? I pulled out my wallet and handed him my license. He looked at it, then he pulled out his phone and took a picture of it. I was about to ask why when he said, Give me 1 moment. He walked back to his office. I stood there feeling completely lost. What was happening? Why was he taking pictures of my ID? What identification could I possibly have that would match a name that wasn't mine? My phone buzzed again. He's verifying with us. Stay calm. Verifying what? That you're who you claim to be. 5 minutes later, Manager Cole came back. His expression had changed. He looked almost apologetic. Miss Chen, I'm sorry for the delay. Everything checks out. If you'll follow me, I'll take you to the vault. I followed him through a secure door and down a hallway lined with more marble and brass fixtures. We reached another door. He unlocked it with 2 different keys and pushed it open to reveal a room full of safe deposit boxes. Hundreds of them, all different sizes, all gleaming in the fluorescent light. He walked to box 847, medium-sized, middle row. He put his key in one of the 2 locks and turned it. Then he looked at me. Your key? I pulled it out of my purse with shaking hands. The old brass key with the intricate design. I slid it into the second lock and turned it. There was a satisfying click. Manager Cole pulled the box out and carried it to a small private room at the end of the vault. Take all the time you need. When you're finished, just press the button on the wall and someone will come to help you secure the box. He left and closed the door behind him. I was alone in a small room with a metal box that supposedly contained something my grandmother wanted me to have. Something important enough that she'd hidden it for 30 years. Something secret enough that she'd used a fake name and hired a security firm and arranged for delivery months after her death. I lifted the lid.
Inside was a stack of papers, old papers, some yellowed with age, some in plastic protective sleeves, some with handwriting I recognized immediately as my grandmother's. I pulled out the first paper and started reading. My dear Sarah, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you any of this while I was alive. I wanted to. God knows I wanted to, but the danger was too real. Even after all these years, even after everyone involved is probably dead or too old to care, I couldn't risk it. I couldn't risk you. What you're about to learn will change everything you know about our family, about me, about where you come from. I need you to understand that everything I did to protect the people I loved, including you, especially you. In 1952, I wasn't a school teacher. I was a courier. I worked for an organization that no longer exists, an organization that moved information between people who couldn't be seen communicating, government people, intelligence people. I was 23 years old and I thought I was doing important work, patriotic work. But in 1954, I delivered something I wasn't supposed to see. Documents, photographs, evidence of things that powerful people wanted to stay buried. And I made a copy. I made a copy because I was young and stupid, and I thought if I ever needed leverage, if I ever needed protection, having those documents would keep me safe. I was right, but I was also wrong, because having those documents made me a target for decades. Even after I left that life, even after I married your grandfather and had your mother and built a quiet, normal life in a quiet, normal town, there were people who knew I had those documents, people who wanted them destroyed, people who would have done anything to make sure they stayed hidden. So I hid them, and I've kept them hidden for 60 years. But now I'm dying, and I need to make a choice. I can destroy them, let them disappear forever, let all those secrets stay buried with all the men who created them, or I can give them to you. I've chosen to give them to you because you're brave, Sarah. You're braver than you think. You're braver than I ever was. And because the world has a right to know what happened, even if it's 70 years too late. What you'll find in this box is proof of things that governments denied, operations that never officially existed, names of people who died in ways that were never questioned, money that disappeared, weapons that were sold to the wrong people. All of it documented, all of it real. I'm not telling you what to do with this information. I'm not asking you to expose it or publish it or bring it to anyone's attention. That's your choice. But I am telling you that it exists and that it's yours now. Do with it what you think is right. I love you, my darling girl. I always have. I always will. Be brave. Grandma.
I set the letter down with shaking hands and looked at the rest of the contents. There were folders, dozens of them, all labeled with dates from the 1950s, all containing photographs, documents, typed reports with official-looking headers. I picked up one folder at random, August 1953. Inside was a photograph of 3 men in suits standing outside a building. Below the photo was a typed description. Operation Nightfall, asset transfer, $2.4 million, authorized by, and then a name I recognized, a name everyone would recognize, a name from history books. I put the folder down and picked up another one. More photographs, more documents, more names, more operations. Some of it I understood, most of it I didn't, but all of it looked real. All of it looked official. All of it looked like the kind of thing that powerful people would absolutely want to keep hidden. I sat in that small room for 2 hours, going through everything, reading my grandmother's notes, looking at photographs of people long dead, trying to understand what I was holding, what she'd kept secret for her entire life, what she'd entrusted to me now. When I finally pressed the button to call someone back, I knew 3 things. First, my grandmother was not the person I thought she was. Second, I was holding information that could rewrite parts of history. Third,
I had absolutely no idea what I was supposed to do with it. Manager Cole came back and helped me secure the box. He didn't ask what was inside. He didn't ask if I was okay. He simply walked me back to the lobby and wished me a good day. I walked out of that bank in a daze. I walked the 12 blocks back to my apartment without really seeing anything. I climbed the 3 flights of stairs. I unlocked my door. I went inside. I locked it behind me. Then I sat on my couch and cried. I cried for my grandmother, who'd carried this weight for 60 years. I cried for the young woman she'd been, who thought she was doing the right thing. I cried for all the people in those photographs who died in ways that were never questioned. I cried for myself because I had no idea how to be brave enough to do what she'd asked. My phone buzzed. I picked it up. Same number from last night. Contents confirmed? Yes. Our contract is complete. You'll never hear from us again. Good luck, Miss Chen. And then nothing. No more messages, no more instructions, no more cryptic guidance. Just me, sitting alone in my apartment with a box full of secrets and a choice to make. That was 6 weeks ago. In that time, I've gone back to the bank 3 more times. I've read every document. I've looked at every photograph. I've researched every name. I've verified as much as I can verify. And it's all real. All of it. Every terrible, impossible thing my grandmother documented is real. I still haven't decided what to do with it. Part of me wants to contact a journalist, someone who could investigate properly, someone who could tell these stories the right way. Part of me wants to digitize everything and release it anonymously online, let the world decide what to do with it. Part of me wants to put it all back in the box, lock it up, and pretend I never saw it. Let it stay buried with my grandmother and all the men who created those secrets. But every time I think about hiding it, I hear my grandmother's voice. Be brave. Every time I think about giving up, I remember that she carried this burden for 60 years because she believed it mattered, because she believed the truth mattered, even when it was dangerous, even when it cost her. So I'm writing this down. I'm documenting what happened. I'm putting it out there so that if something happens to me, if I end up like those people in the photographs, at least someone will know why. At least someone will know that the secrets exist. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm 31 years old. I'm a data analyst from Seattle, and I'm the current keeper of my grandmother's secrets. Secrets that powerful people spent decades trying to hide. Secrets that she trusted me with because she believed I was brave enough to do something with them. I don't know if she was right. I don't know if I'm brave enough, but I'm going to try. Because she asked me to. Because the truth matters. Because sometimes you get a text message at 2 a.m. that changes your entire life, and you have to decide whether you're going to run from it or face it. I've decided to face it. Whatever comes next, at least I know my grandmother would be proud. The first journalist I contacted responded yesterday. She wants to meet. She's done this kind of investigation before. She's won awards for exposing government corruption. She thinks the documents are legitimate. She thinks there's a story worth telling. She thinks people deserve to know the truth. We're meeting next week, in a public place, during daylight hours with multiple witnesses around, because I've learned from my grandmother's mistakes, because I'm not going to make it easy for anyone who might want these secrets to stay hidden, because I might be new to this whole whistleblower thing, but I'm not stupid. I've also made copies, digital copies, physical copies, stored in multiple locations with multiple people who don't know each other. If something happens to me, those copies get released automatically. It's called a dead man switch. It's morbid, but it's necessary. Because the one thing I've learned from all of this is that secrets don't stay hidden because people forget about them. They stay hidden because someone is actively working to keep them that way. And those someones don't usually respond well to people who threaten to expose them.
But here's what I keep coming back to. My grandmother was 23 when she made a copy of those documents. 23, barely older than a college graduate.
and she spent the next 60 years of her life looking over her shoulder, wondering if today would be the day someone came for her. She gave up career opportunities. She turned down job offers. She stayed in a small town where she could control her environment. She lived her entire life in the shadow of that one decision she made when she was young and brave and probably a little reckless. And in all those years, she never destroyed the documents. She never threw them away. She never burned them or shredded them or buried them so deep that no one would ever find them. She kept them. She protected them. She made sure they survived because she believed they mattered more than her own safety. That's what bravery looks like. Not the absence of fear, not being too stupid to understand the danger, but being afraid, understanding exactly what you're risking and doing it anyway because it's the right thing to do. So yeah, I'm scared. I'm terrified, actually. Every time I leave my apartment, I wonder if I'm being followed. Every time my phone buzzes, I wonder if it's another mysterious number with another cryptic message. Every time I hear footsteps in the hallway, I grab my baseball bat and check the peephole. But I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to meet with that journalist. I'm going to help her verify the documents. I'm going to watch as she writes the story and publishes it and sends it out into the world, where it can't be taken back or hidden or denied. And maybe nothing will happen. Maybe these secrets are so old that nobody cares anymore. Maybe all the people who would have wanted them hidden are already dead. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Or maybe not. Maybe someone will care. Maybe someone will try to stop it. Maybe those black SUVs will come back. Maybe next time they won't just watch. Maybe next time they'll knock on my door. Maybe next time I won't be around to tell anyone what happened. But if that happens, if something goes wrong, if I end up as a footnote in someone else's story, at least I'll have tried. At least I'll have done what my grandmother asked me to do. At least I'll have been brave. And honestly, that's all any of us can do. Be brave when it matters. Stand up when it's hard. Tell the truth when it would be easier to stay silent. Because the world doesn't change when people play it safe. The world changes when someone decides that the truth is worth the risk. My grandmother understood that, and now I do too. So if you're watching this video, if you're hearing this story, if you're wondering whether you should believe me or dismiss me as some conspiracy theorist making things up for attention, here's what I want you to know. The documents exist. They're real. They're being verified right now by people with more experience than me. And soon, they're going to be public. And when they are, when the story breaks, when the headlines start appearing, remember where you heard it first. Remember that it started with a wrong number text at 2 a.m. Remember that sometimes the most important things in your life come from the most unexpected places. Remember to be brave. My grandmother's name was Helen Chen. She was born in 1929. She died in 2024. She was a courier, a school teacher, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a keeper of secrets. She lived a quiet life in a quiet town, and almost nobody knew how extraordinary she really was. But I know, and soon the world will know too. This is my story. This is her story. This is a story about secrets and courage and the choice we all have to make when we're given information that could change things. Do we hide it, or do we share it? Do we play it safe, or do we risk everything for the truth? I know what my grandmother would want me to do. I know what kind of person I want to be, so I'm choosing brave. I'm choosing truth. I'm choosing to honor her memory by finishing what she started 60 years ago. Whatever comes next, at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I didn't let fear win. At least I'll know that when it mattered most, I did the right thing. And if that happens, if something goes wrong, if I end up as a footnote in someone else's story, I want you to ask yourself this question. If someone trusted you with the most important information of their life, if they believed in you enough to put everything in your hands, what would you do? Would you hide it? Would you destroy it? Would you pretend you never saw it? Or would you honor that trust by being brave enough to share it, no matter what it cost you? I hope you'd choose brave. I hope you'd choose truth. I hope you'd choose to do the right thing even when it's scary and dangerous and uncertain. Because that's what heroes do. Not the superheroes in movies, not the celebrities with millions of followers. The real heroes. The everyday people who make hard choices in difficult moments. The people who stand up when everyone else sits down. The people who speak up when everyone else stays silent. My grandmother was one of those people, and I'm trying to be one too. I'm trying to live up to the example she set. I'm trying to be worthy of the trust she placed in me. I'm trying to be the person she believed I could be when she wrote that letter all those years ago. Am I succeeding? I don't know. Ask me again in a year, or 5 years, or whenever this story finally plays out. But right now, in this moment, I'm doing my best, and sometimes that's all you can do. Your best. Even when your best is terrifying and uncertain and might blow up your entire life.
Because the alternative is living with the regret of not trying. The alternative is knowing you had a chance to make a difference and you chose safety instead. The alternative is looking in the mirror and seeing someone who let fear win. I don't want to be that person. I don't think you want to be that person either. So be brave. Tell the truth. Stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because that's when it matters most. My name is Sarah Chen. I replied wrong number at 2 a.m. 10 minutes later, 5 black SUVs blocked my street, and now I'm about to change history. Not because I'm special, not because I'm exceptionally brave or smart or qualified, but because I was trusted with something important, and I refuse to let that trust be wasted. So watch this space. Watch the news. Watch for the story about government secrets from the 1950s. Watch for documents that were hidden for 60 years. Watch for proof of operations that never officially existed. Watch for the truth. And when you see it, remember that it started with a text message, a delivery, a key, and a grandmother who believed that some secrets are too important to stay buried forever. Be brave. Tell the truth. Change the world. That's what she would want. That's what I'm going to do. And I hope when your moment comes, that's what you'll do too. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope you never get a mysterious text at 2 a.m., but if you do, I hope you're ready to be brave. What city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If this story spoke to you, if it made you think about truth and courage and the choices we all have to make, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your own experiences. Tell me about a time you had to choose between safety and truth. Tell me what you would do in my situation. Let's talk about what it means to be brave in a world that often rewards silence. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, if you want to help make sure these stories get told, subscribe to the channel, share this video, spread the word, because the more people who know, the harder it becomes to hide the truth. The more witnesses there are, the safer I am. The more voices that join in, the louder the message becomes. Truth matters. Courage matters. Your choice matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let fear stop you from doing what's right. Don't let the world convince you that one person can't make a difference. Because you can. We all can. We just have to be brave enough to try. My grandmother proved that, and I'm going to prove it too. One document at a time, one conversation at a time, one brave choice at a time, until the truth is out there, where it belongs, where it can't be hidden or denied or forgotten, where it can finally do what it was always meant to do. Change things, make things better, make things right. That's the power of truth. That's the power of courage. That's the power of one person deciding that some secrets are too important to keep. I'm that person now. My grandmother passed that responsibility to me, and I'm not going to let her down.
I hope you won't either. When your moment comes, when you're faced with a choice between easy and right, when you have information that could change things, I hope you remember this story. I hope you remember Helen Chen, the courier turned school teacher who kept secrets for 60 years. I hope you remember Sarah Chen, the boring data analyst who got a text at 2 a.m. and chose brave. And I hope you choose brave too, whatever that looks like for you, whatever form it takes in your life, whatever risk it requires you to take. Choose brave. Choose truth. Choose to make a difference. Because the world needs more people who are willing to stand up when it matters, who are willing to risk something for the truth, who are willing to honor the trust that others place in them. Be one of those people. Be brave. Be true. Be the person you want to see in the mirror, the person your grandmother would be proud of, the person the world needs you to be, even when it's scary, especially when it's scary, because that's when courage counts the most. This is Sarah Chen, signing off. Watch the news. Watch for the story. Watch for the truth. And remember, it all started with a text message. Wrong number. Right person. Perfect timing. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the world. A message, a moment, a choice. Make yours count. Be brave. See you in the comments. See you in the headlines. See you on the other side of this story. When the truth is finally out there. When my grandmother's secrets are finally free. When the world finally knows what powerful people spent decades trying to hide. I'll be there. Watching, hoping, believing that I did the right thing. That we all did the right thing. That truth and courage won in the end. Because they have to. They always have to. That's what keeps the world moving forward. That's what makes all of this worth it. That's what my grandmother understood. And that's what I understand now too.
Truth matters. Be brave. That's the lesson. That's the message. That's what I hope you take away from this story. Whether you believe every word or think I'm making it all up, that part is real. Truth matters. Courage matters. Your choices matter. Don't forget that. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let fear win. Because the moment we let fear make our decisions is the moment we stop being free. And freedom, real freedom, comes from having the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it costs us everything. Especially when it costs us everything. That's when it matters most. That's when we prove who we really are. That's when we become the heroes of our own stories, not by being perfect, not by being fearless, but by being brave enough to try, even when we're scared, even when we're uncertain, even when we have no idea how things will turn out. We try. We stand up, we speak out, we do what's right, because that's what heroes do, and we're all capable of being heroes. Every single one of us. We just have to choose it. One brave moment at a time. My grandmother chose it. I'm choosing it. And I hope when your moment comes, you choose it too. Because the world is watching. History is watching. And the choice you make matters. More than you know. More than you might ever realize. But it matters. It always matters. So choose well. Choose brave. Choose truth and change the world, one small, courageous choice at a time. That's all we can do. That's all any of us can do. And it's enough. It has to be enough. Because together, all those small choices add up to something bigger, something important, something that actually changes things. And that's what this is all about. Not just my story, not just my grandmother's secrets, but all of us. All of our choices, all of our moments of courage,
all adding up to a world that's a little bit better, a little bit truer, a little bit braver than it was before. That's the goal. That's the hope. That's what makes all of this worth it. So join me. Be part of it. Choose brave. And let's see what happens when enough people decide that truth matters more than comfort, that courage matters more than safety, that doing what's right matters more than doing what's easy. Let's find out together, starting now, starting here, starting with you. Be brave. The world needs it. I need it. And somewhere my grandmother is watching, hoping we all choose brave like she did, like I'm trying to do, like I hope you will too. See you in the comments. See you in the world. See you when the truth comes out. Until then, be brave. Be true. Be the change you want to see. That's what heroes do. That's what my grandmother did. And that's what we're all capable of doing, if we just have the courage to try. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Now go out there and be brave. The world is waiting. Your moment is coming. And when it does, I hope you're ready. I hope you choose courage. I hope you choose truth. I hope you honor the trust that life places in you. Just like my grandmother honored hers. Just like I'm trying to honor mine. Just like we all should honor ours. Because that's what makes life worth living. Not the safe choices, not the easy paths, but the brave ones, the true ones, the ones that matter. Choose those, every time, without fail, and watch what happens. Watch how your life changes. Watch how the world changes. Watch how everything becomes clearer and brighter and more meaningful when you choose brave. I promise you it's worth it. Every scary moment, every uncertain choice, every risk you take for the truth, it's all worth it. Because you become someone you're proud to be, someone your grandmother would be proud of, someone the world needs. And that, more than anything else, is what matters. Being that person, being brave, being true, being someone who makes a difference. Starting now, starting today, starting with whatever choice is in front of you right now. Choose brave, choose truth, choose to honor the trust that life has placed in you, and watch what happens next. I have a feeling it's going to be amazing. For all of us. Together. One brave choice at a time. Let's do this. Be brave. See you soon.